Mario Kart Wii, and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I've put thousands of hours into both games, but I vastly prefer Mario Kart Wii. So today I'll be analyzing 4 aspects of each game to tell you why I think Mario Kart Wii is the much better game. The tracks. The biggest part of a Mario Kart game, to just about anyone you ask, would be the selection of tracks. Generally, both games have a really good selection of tracks. Some I like a lot, some I don't. I don't think either game has tracks that I hate. They're all pretty bearable. By the way, here's my tier list for each game's tracks if anyone cares to see them. Tiers are somewhat ordered. Now, the elephant in the room is the number of tracks each game has. Mario Kart Wii has 32, while Mario Kart 8 has 48, 96 actually. So yeah, with 3 times the amount of tracks to choose from, I'm gonna have to say that Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is the better set of tracks. Fine, I'll mention CTGP. CTGP is a Mario Kart Wii mod pack that adds 218 new tracks to Mario Kart Wii, for a grand total of 250. It includes ways to customize the tracks that appear, so any tracks one doesn't like can be easily toggled off. There's loads of great features in CTGP, so it's the only way I play Mario Kart Wii nowadays. Of course, the only thing CTGP does for my enjoyment of the game is add fresh tracks, so I won't be mentioning it again. The items. Another very crucial part of a Mario Kart game is the items. I really like Mario Kart Wiis. They all feel like they add to the meta enough to make the game interesting, and they're balanced really well. I think the balance of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe's items is a little worse, but I'll get to that more when discussing every item that's exclusive to each game, starting with Fib. The fake item box has been an odd exclusion from modern Mario Kart titles. I really like its role in the meta of Mario Kart Wii. It's obtainable in 1st to 4th place, and can't block items, unlike any other item obtainable in 1st place, immediately making it only worthwhile for trapping routes or item boxes, and forcing the 1st place player into making a choice of picking up another item or not. The Mega Mushroom. Obtainable in 4th to 8th place, the Mega Mushroom, well, you already know what it does. More importantly, it adds more variety to the middle places, and I'm not really sure why it's not in modern titles, as fans seem to really like it. Thundercloud. Hot take, I really like the Thundercloud. Obtainable very rarely from 3rd to 8th place, it never directly affects players too far ahead or behind, so it's commonly used in thick of races as a hectic game of hot potato. The increased speed you get, and then the lack of effect from going off-road, actually incentivizes the player with it to hold onto it for a little while before passing it on. See this clip in a video of mine. It's the last lap, and I'm in 3rd place within reach of 2nd. 1st has already finished. I get the Thundercloud, and I can easily pass the finish line before my opponent, but because A, it's 2 in the morning, B, there's 0 stakes attached to the match, and 3, we're recording. I knock him into the wall at the last second, giving him the Cloud, a speed boost, and therefore a better finish than me.
Oh boy! Oh,
Come down to the wire.
Yeah, but I want
Crash moving.
No! Yes! 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 Yes!
I can definitely see why Nintendo wouldn't want the item in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe though, as it's more of a family-oriented Mario Kart, and it's gonna get them the most sales. POW Block. I see a lot of people saying how inconsequential the POW Block is at higher levels of Mario Kart Wii. It's pullable roughly 5% of the time between 5th and 9th place, it only affects the players ahead of the user, and can be dodged by shaking the Wiimote with good timing. I'd argue, however, that since even when dodging it, the players still lose their items, it can quickly clear the slates of players in higher places, getting rid of bananas and mushrooms and forcing players to change plans. I really like how the POW Block fits into the meta, and I really hope it'll return in another installment. Coin. Moving on to the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe items now, the coin is a very underwhelming item. Pullable most often in 1st place. Every time I say place in this segment, I'm actually talking about something else, which I'll touch on a little bit later. Pullable most often in 1st place, it simply adds to the coin counter, and once full, gives a tiny speed boost. I know I'm probably getting doxxed for saying this, but I actually like the coin mechanic. More coins equals more speed. Usually it's inconsequential, but occasionally there's shortcuts only possible with 10 coins, and it also adds more variety to 1st place's item pulls. Also, since a player can't have 2 of the same items, there's a little bit of strategy in holding onto a coin before you get to an item box to guarantee yourself a defensive item. The Fire Flower. Fire Flower isn't an item I'm really fond of. It's obtainable very rarely in high to middle places, and its use comes in the form of shredding the defenses of nearby players, which triple reds available at the same probability and place, or triple greens, or just a single red, or a green, already do. I feel the skill required to get good mileage out of it, however, is much lower than with those items, and it just comes off as a crutch for worse players. Usually, to get rid of a player's shell or banana, another player would have to pull multiple shells, or do something more complicated like try to bounce a green or hit a red while the player is drifting. The Fire Flower makes disarming a shield much easier, but there's also risk involved in getting hit by one of the many fireballs that are now bouncing around. Boo. Okay, Boo is actually like a sick item. I don't really have much to say about it other than that I really like it, and its spot in the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe meta, and I wish I saw it more often. Piranha Plant. I think the Piranha Plant does too much. It acts as an offensive, defensive, and recovery item. From a meta perspective, it suffers from the same issue that a majority of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe's unique items do. It's too overpowered, and was probably introduced as a cool gimmick for less experienced players. Boomerang. Boomerang, like Piranha Plant and Fire Flower, is a very rare item, so it seems really underwhelming. While it can't hit opponents with a shell or banana shield, I rarely find another player close enough to hit when I do have a Boomerang, and I usually end up picking up another item before I've even had a chance to use Boomerang 3 times. Super Horn. You might reckon, with my critical views of Piranha, Boomerang, and Fire Flower, that I might not really like Super Horn very much. However, I'm very in the middle regarding the Super Horn. On one hand, I really like how it counters blue shells, and can hit many opponents and items at once, essentially clearing an area. But on the other hand, it's overpowered, and the ability to counter blue shells with it downplays dodging blue shells with mushrooms or boost pads, which is incredibly fun to do in Mario Kart Wii. I'd enjoy it if the Super Horn still required precise timing to dodge blue shells, and if its area of effect was much smaller. Crazy 8. It's a gimmick. I think it's nice for inexperienced players to suddenly have all of this power at their fingertips, but if it and its variants like the 7 and the 9 that Nintendo is surely adding to the next Mario Kart were removed, I wouldn't mind one bit. So, overall, Mario Kart Wii's items create a really fun meta with a variety of items that counter each other in very specific ways, and I love it for that. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe adds some items to the meta that I really like, but also removes some that I wish could have stayed. The main flaw that makes me prefer Mario Kart Wii's, however, is the addition of many items for casual players that scramble the meta too much when they're in a match. To finish up with items, there's 3 more big reasons why Mario Kart Wii handles items better than Mario Kart 8 does. Number 1. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe's items aren't actually determined by a player's placing, as I was alluding to earlier. They're determined by their distance from first place. This, most of the time, is a great system for casual matches. In casual gameplay, players can easily get separated, so it's great to more fairly even them out. However, from a competitive standpoint, this is an awful system. Players are usually clumped together closer in competitive matches, which will cause a ton more shells and bananas to appear, which are never fun to get hit by. With Mario Kart Wii's system of distributing items, more exciting items can still be pulled when the competition is bunched up, making players constantly compete for places. To add on to that, there's many scenarios in which a player might consider sticking behind a little because they know they'll get better items, such as second instead of first to have the possibility of getting triple greens, a red shell, or a mushroom. Fourth instead of third to have increased chances at getting a blue shell, mega mushroom, bomb, mushroom, and triple mushrooms. And lastly, sticking behind early on to start the game with a golden mushroom, star, triple mushroom, or to smuggle a lightning or a blue shell into a higher place, to hold on to in first to guarantee no other players can get one. Number 2. The ability to drag items and pick another one up is a significantly more fun mechanic than having 2 item slots. Dragging has so much more skill and strategy attached to it, and while Mario Kart 8 does have dragging, it doesn't open up another item slot. Not only does dragging in Mario Kart Wii have more skill and timing attached to chaining items, but it also forces the player to make a decision, such as, do I want to drag this bomb so that I can hold on to an extra item, but have other players know I have it and try to hit me with a shell to explode it, or do I keep it in my inventory so that I can more sneakily use it, but be left vulnerable till I find another item. Mario Kart 8 doesn't have decisions like this, as there's no reason to drag a bomb, and no reason to not drag triple bananas. Number 3. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe's item chaining is terrible! Of course, with dragging, there's less skill attached, but in addition, hiding items behind boxes is significantly harder to do, as there's lag when items are transferred from the extra slot to the main one, which isn't a worry in Mario Kart Wii, as the animation to drop an item is only a few frames. So even when dragging an item and holding on to another in the inventory, the dragged item can be dropped, the held one can be dragged, and another item can be obtained from the item box, all while seamlessly hiding the first item behind the item box in a way that can make it near impossible to spot. This just isn't possible in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. The player has to choose between placing an item in front of an item box and getting a full inventory, or actually hiding the item, which is harder anyway due to item boxes being more transparent in 8, and being left with an empty inventory slot. While both games essentially have 2 item slots, I can see why Mario Kart 8 has the system that it does. It's more friendly to casual gamers. Karts and Characters. Moving on, karts and characters are also important to the feel of the game. We'll make a brief mention of characters first, since their impact is very minimal. Mario Kart Wii, with 24 characters, excluding the Mii's, feels like it more effectively uses its character slots. Almost every character feels like it belongs in the game, and the same can't really be said for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Zelda, Splatoon, and Animal Crossing characters are great to see in the roster, but there's some things that just feel odd, such as having Tanuki Mario, Cat Peach, Lakitu, Baby Rosalina, Pink Gold Peach, and then the lack of Diddy and Funky Kong. And sure, as much as I hate Birdo, I'll admit the exclusion does feel odd. I will say though, that isn't really too big of a deal to me. More importantly, however, karts. Okay, I'll admit it. Mario Kart Wii's balance between karts and bikes is terrible. However, as I got more into the competitive scene, I started realizing how much more fun bikes are too, and how there's so many more techniques with them, like chain drifting, and how sharp you can take turns, and of course, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe removed everything fun about playing a bike. There's no longer wheelies, and the startup on drifting is much longer, which is a big deal in a fast-paced game. Both games have balance issues with vehicle types, because now what's the reason for playing a bike in 8 Deluxe? And then there's the customization. Mario Kart Wii only has characters and vehicles to choose from, while Mario Kart 8 has characters, vehicles, wheels, and gliders, which I guess is a good thing. There's now so many more options to get really any combination of stats you want, which I can't really complain about. The choice overload goes away eventually. However, I will have to say that I like vehicles as a whole in Mario Kart Wii better than Mario Kart 8. Mario Kart Wii's bikes just feel so fun to play in a way that Mario Kart Wii can't compare to in any way. Tricks and miscellaneous. For the final category, we'll be analyzing the tricks seen at higher levels of play from both games, as well as anything that doesn't fit into any other category. Mario Kart Wii has significantly more tiny tricks in it than Mario Kart 8 does, so here's all of what I noticed, in no particular order. Acceleration. Acceleration is one of the 3 most important stats in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and one of the reasons that you see Waluigi Wiggly so much. The build aims to maximize speed, mini-turbo, and acceleration. However, if you compare Mario Kart 8 Deluxe's top builds to Mario Kart Wii's 2 meta-defining builds, Funky Flame Runner and Daisy Mock Bike, you'll see that they both aim to minimize acceleration in favor of other stats. Acceleration just doesn't matter in Mario Kart Wii, as there's so many tricks that you can do to get around having bad acceleration that have been removed in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. After getting hit in Mario Kart Wii, if you hold accelerate and brake, your character will stop in place, and you can charge up a mini-turbo, which, if timed properly, can be faster than accelerating normally with the low acceleration build. You can also start holding the accelerate button at the right time when being dropped off by Lakitu to get a mini-turbo-esque boost upon landing. which is also missing from Mario Kart 8. It's fun being able to go fast in racing games, but when such a clear opportunity to make the game more fun is overlooked, it's a little disappointing. Lakitu. Lakitu is extremely restrictive in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. There's lots of examples where you can just barely go off-road and have Lakitu immediately pick you up. Getting creative with shortcuts in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is so much harder, as almost every possible shortcut is very noticeable, and the ones that aren't possible aren't because of the out-of-bound boxes that are defined almost everywhere where there isn't track. Drift tricks. There's a cool little technique in Mario Kart Wii called drift tricking. If you're currently drifting and you come across any trickable surface, you can shake the Wii remote to do a little trick, and keep drifting once you land. This technique is nowhere to be seen in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and the closest you can get is releasing a mini turbo, tricking, and then starting another drift as you land. Low tricks. In general, you move faster on the ground than in the air, so it's best to do everything you can to stay on the ground as much as possible. One way to guarantee this is by performing a low trick, where you press the drift button right before touching a small bump, which keeps the character on the ground while tricking. This cool technique is just not in 8 Deluxe, which is so shocking to me almost every time I fail to do one. Item respawn time. The first couple seconds of a race in Mario Kart Wii are usually a hectic struggle, and players compete to get in the lead for a chance to get an item box to start out the race. Why is this such a big deal in Mario Kart Wii and not 8 Deluxe? Item boxes take a full 2.5 seconds to respawn in Mario Kart Wii, and only 0.5 in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Longer respawn times make for more interesting strategies, such as trying not to slipstream when approaching item boxes, or purposefully taking a longer route because you'll get an item. Items and respawning. Why do you keep items after respawning in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe? Oh, yeah, beginner friendly and all that. What really shocks me, however, is that you don't lose items to blue shells. Like, a blue shell is designed to diminish the lead of the first place player, which, yeah, the sudden stop helps with, but losing items is also a big part of it. There's many times when I've been in first in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, been hit by a blue shell, and just used the mushroom as if nothing happened. Lightning still gets rid of a player's items, so why doesn't a blue shell? Hopping to change momentum. Sometimes there's scenarios where you'll find yourself coming out of a turn a little too loose or too sharp, which can be cured by hopping, you know, the beginning of a drift. At least in Mario Kart Wii. This is a pretty good technique for control of a vehicle, especially in low traction and tandem builds, of which you're going to want to have anyway. Hopping in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is, well, bad. Sure, there's a couple shortcuts that can be done shroomless by hopping, but when used as movement tech, it does little to alter momentum. You just kinda keep sliding. Red shell tracking. Red shells are much more of a threat in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, mostly due to their ability to target while in the air and in cannons, meaning there's fewer ways than in Mario Kart Wii to avoid getting hit. Lightning. I've always felt that lightning is much more common in Mario Kart 8 than Wii, but I just can't do the math from item probabilities. I'd also need to know the amount of item boxes on the average track, if there's a certain time in which lightning can't spawn, if so, how long the average race lasts, and for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, how far from first place any given player is on average. That sounds like hell. So what I thought would be a better idea is to put myself through a form of torture known as playing 104 races and tracking every single lightning strike. Oh, and blue shells too, just for fun. Welcome to the unhinged, uncut, unscripted part of the video. This drove me insane! I was sick and I had a full day to myself, which I spent with OBS, Mario Kart, and a Google spreadsheet open. I painstakingly played through 104 races and managed to actually brainwash myself into, every time I saw lightning, to immediately start repeating, one lightning, one lightning, one lightning, so I wouldn't forget what I just saw by the end of the race. So now, weeks later, I still find myself quietly saying to myself, one blue, after getting blue shelled. So, what were the results, you may be asking? Well, in 104 courses, I was hit by 72 lightning strikes and 74 blue shells. On Mario Kart Wii's 32 tracks, I was struck 22 times, averaging to a 69% chance of getting hit every race, and I was blue shelled 23 times, averaging a 72% chance. In Mario Kart 8 Deluxe's 72 tracks, as of now, however, I was struck 50 times, averaging to, a 69% chance again. Okay, what about blue shells? Maybe that's different. 51 divided by 72? Oh, that's 71%. So I really just spent a day playing 104 Mario Kart races, just to disprove my hypothesis and worsen my headache. Yeah, I think I'm ready to get to the conclusion and be done. Conclusion. Of course, I love both Mario Kart games. I'm not entirely dissing Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. It has some really cool shortcuts and a few interesting mechanics like glider vectoring, which I have yet to learn. However, Mario Kart Wii serves as the older, more competitive, more moddable game. The melee of the series, if you will. While Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is the newer, more casual, beginner-friendly game. The multiverses of the series. I enjoyed Mario Kart Wii for how competitive higher-level play can be, and how high the skill ceiling is set. Complex tricks and shortcuts are really fun to learn and perfect, and I love the game for that. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is a genuinely beautiful game, and it's a great casual Mario Kart. I just have to say that I prefer Mario Kart Wii for its skill curve, despite the massive selection of great looking tracks in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this and aren't already subscribed, please consider subscribing, as it helps the channel out a lot. I'll see y'all in the next video.